Uncensored. My name is Matthew, and in today's video, we're going to discuss more Heartstopper. Why? Because we need something to keep us busy while we're waiting for an announcement whether or not they're going to renew Season 4 of Heartstopper on Netflix. So, I wanted to go through a few things. Some of it is actually dissecting news that has been announced in the past month with Seesaw Films, which hopefully gives us some hope in regards to the show. But it's also important for us to be realistic about some of the potential challenges in the show. So I wanted to start with the bad news, ripping off the band aid, right? So I think that we want to talk about the actors as far as, where they are. And previously I had talked about like Joe Locke and the red carpet of an award show recently saying he really doesn't have anything lined up, despite him recently being an Agatha all along, as I forget his character's name, but his character does have future story arcs supposedly planned for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But with that, Agatha season 2 was not renewed on Disney Plus. So that means, based on what he said on the red carpet, and also the news that Agatha all along was not renewed, this leaves him open for the next season if it were to be renewed, and the final season of Heartstopper. Now, if you go back to 2022, I think that this is a difficult time for Kit Connor, and from what I read in the article, also for some of the other actors. The majority of the actors were 18 when they filmed the first season of Heartstopper. Now, at the time, there was lots of backlash against Kit Connor. Now, some of that actually is outside the article that I read. I know that he felt like a lot of pressure in regards to embody the character because, he's a rugby player, and people were criticizing that he wasn't fit enough, which then caused him to work out a little bit more and probably added additional body image issues that Kit Connor had to face. Now, yes, currently he is very fit, and a lot of people are praising him for his physique and his looks. But I imagine for a young individual, and he's still young, he's 21. Oh my gosh, I'm double his age. I'm 42. So I'm like, oh my gosh, just looking at these young people, because I feel like in your 20s, you're still a child in my eyes. So I've never understood like the older man or older person going for somebody, half their age. So I just want to say that I imagine that it's very difficult to go through that at a young age when you're discovering your own body and then having everyone criticize you. It must be very difficult. Now, the article I'm particularly referencing here is one where Kit Connor was criticized for potentially queer baiting, right? So when we're looking at the definition of queer baiting, it says even though speculating over celebrities' sexuality is divisive, there's plenty of times where straight celebrities will participate in some homosexual act that's thought to bait their queer fan base into thinking they're part of the community, even though it's not always true. The impact of this, from what I'm reading, right, is they say this can be damaging to a susceptible audience. So that's the definition here. Now, for me, I completely understand that these are actors, right? Meaning that they are playing a character, they are embodying the character in regards to their experience and taking on and becoming them, right? So, as far as a straight actor playing a gay character, I understand the perspective that lots of gay actors, especially let's say in Hollywood, in any industry, right, are usually not given opportunities. They're really typecast. They say if you come out in Hollywood that you're basically going to be stuck playing a specific character, which is probably going to be queer, and that's going to really limit your work. Now, lots of gay characters have been played by white males, right? And also females have played lesbians, but mainly I'm focusing on male actors who are straight playing gay characters. Now, you look at many of them have won awards. Look at Brokeback Mountain, right? Winning awards, two straight actors, from what we know. And then you also have, I think, Tom Hanks, right, in Philadelphia, did that role very well. Most of our stories that we grew up with as a gay kid when I was growing up were either we were dying as gay people or we were comedic relief. So it was hard for me to really identify and understand what life would be like for me as a gay man. So I looked at it as like, okay, I'm going to die or I'm just going to be a laughing stock. Now I've already used to being made fun of in school, right? So I understand that pressure. So when Kit Connor is receiving the backlash of like basically that he is, queer baiting the audience, meaning that he is intentionally putting himself into, homosexual acts and the intention of trying to queer bait his fan base into thinking that he's part of the community. Well, for me, I watched it and I thought, well, he's an actor playing a character, you know, so it's different if he's outside, participating in lots of the homosexual, let's say, activities, let's say, like kind of teasing, posting, like, what is it, thirst traps and like that, things like that to his audience. But he's so young that I wouldn't necessarily blame him at that age, if that even was the case of like him exploring his sexuality. Like, that's what the whole show is about. It's about discovering yourself and not really adhering to necessarily these labels because sexuality isn't a spectrum. And Nick, Kit Carner's character, that identifies as bi. I find it interesting. He usually goes, "I'm bi, actually." So, so I imagine it was very difficult. And I took some quotes from the article from Kit Connor when the fan base was accusing him of queer baiting, and he was getting this backlash. So he goes in his post, he says, "I'm bi. Congrats for forcing an 18-year-old to out himself. I think some of you missed the point of the show. Bi." And it was straightforward. To tell you the truth, even if some people found this harsh, I would have not found this harsh because it's a personal attack on him in regards to people judging him and really forcing him out of the closet before he's even ready, which is terrible. So here's another comment and tweet from Kit where he's saying, pressuring us to come out maybe when we're not ready. He goes, Twitter is so funny, man. Apparently, some people on here know my sexuality better than I do. And this is where, he's talking about the queer baiting and, some of the other actors kind of responded. And he was actually, Kit Connor was also talking about, like, hey, all of us are young individuals and exploring ourselves, and to be forced, even not only himself, but other actors on the show, is something unfair. Um, and you had other actors and as well as the show creator uh, respond to him. So Osman, who is the creator of Heartstopper, said, "I truly don't understand how people can watch Heartstopper and then gleefully spend their time speculating about sexualities and judging based on stereotypes. I hope all those people are embarrassed. Kit, you're amazing." Now, Joe Locke, the co star who plays Charlie, said, "You owe nothing to anyone. I'm so proud of my friend." Now, the other actor, Sebastian Cross, who actually plays Ben in the show, tweeted, "Kit Connor, the world doesn't deserve you. Love you, my friend." And you really saw the actress also, Kizzy Edgedell, um, who plays Darcy, wrote, "I love you, Kit. I'm sorry this has been so disgustingly rough on you. Been treated so unfairly." And then you have another actor just tweet a heart emoji to Kit. Now, I imagine that this is a scarring experience for Kit. And if you're thinking about this show that gave you so many opportunities and open doors, and you're now from 18 to 21, you're getting you're on Broadway, right? He did Romeo and Juliet, right, in New York City, and then he has this war movie coming out, and his career is really gaining momentum. And you have lots of people swooning over him, as a handsome young man. And, you have this show that yes, there's a huge fan base and you appreciate that, but you also have this very scarring experience through the show. So I could see, like, for example, like Kit going, I'm actually ready to move on. It was a great thing, but it was a rather traumatic experience for me. And I wouldn't necessarily, let's say, blame him if that was the feeling. Now, there are really great friends on the show, him and Joe Locke and the other actors, but I could definitely see that as being a potential hurdle here, and one that I can't necessarily blame him for. Now, that's not to make anyone feel depressed, but I think it's just definitely like, as yes, of course, I would love a season four to close up the story. And, this show and the story really has been self discovery for myself in regards to realizing what I have missed out on. And I'm still alive, so I still can enjoy things. So, and all to you as well, you still have a life to live. So, if anything from the show, you still find love, you could still do the things that you need to do in order to care for yourself. So, I want to move on to the other area, which is the budget. Now, in a previous article, a producer or a person who was involved in the show indicated that some of the difficulties with season four, more so than past seasons, was the budget and getting the funding for the season. Now, other areas that were referenced was the creative process in regards to the pitch of the show, because Netflix is going to want something that, is going to hook people to come back in. And with season three having, less views, that was potential kind of issue in regards to that. Now, I find that a little bit difficult because Osman is writing the book, so there has to be, something, to close it up. And it's like, hey, the final farewell. It's the bookend to this series, which could be a cult classic. Um, but I found it interesting, they talked about like, hey, the TV landscape from when Heartstopper started is now more difficult. Now, there is some good news because now Media One purchased Seesaw Films, and usually with acquisitions, you never know what you're going to get. You have, them try to break up the studio, and it sometimes doesn't go very well. Just case in point, you had Discovery purchasing WB, and that has not been going so well, in my opinion. You had lots of films canceled, just the creative process, lots of things happening in regards to, individuals and creatives leaving the studio feeling kind of burned from that. And then you also have other studios, kind of merging as well. You've seen that when Disney bought, Star Wars, lots of the fandom was not really happy with what has come out of the IP since Disney had purchased it. And it seems Disney seems a little bit lost in what to do with the Star Wars franchise as well. So, in regards to Seesaw Films, being purchased by Media One, now there's some hopeful news here because Media One had indicated that now they're really interested in Seesaw Films, of course, the reason why they purchased it, but they referenced Heartstopper, which is a positive, as one of the shows that, just has exploded Seesaw Films into the spotlight. And one of the goals that they have with the acquisition of Seesaw Films is allowing them to have the creative independence, which is really great. Uh, you know, to allow yourselves to continue to do what you do that have attracted audience. Now, I didn't know this, but in the article I read, Neverending Story, the movie and film series, is actually being produced by Seesaw Films. And I love Neverending Story as a kid, growing up, watching the very first one. And I remember Sebastian, that young little boy, I had the same hairstyle as him, and he looked a lot like me. I know. So I was like, oh, wow, that is something huge to show what they're doing. But in the article, they said, hey, we're invested in the film portion and, of course, the TV portion of the studio. And with this, they indicated there'd be more resources available to Seesaw Films and the creative process. which means more money. So, in my past video, I talked about the budget potentially being something that was a hurdle. And I imagine this was before the announcement of the merger and acquisition. So, hopefully, this addresses that hurdle that they're having. And maybe this is also the reason because, acquisitions take a while. And this may be a reason why there was such a delay in getting news, right? That they were like, hey, we're having trouble right now. Hey, we may not have an answer right now because we're having issues with the budget, but we do know that Media One is committed to purchasing us, and we have had discussions where they're also committed to finishing up the final season of Heartstopper with the budget support. So hopefully that's a positive. Um, Now I'm just speculating. I'm guessing there, right? So that's my positive side saying, hey, this is a positive that we could get season four. Now, the actor thing and the past scarring, I have no, that leads me to like, as far as getting the talent back, it could be a little bit of a struggle. Um, but also, I think that many of the actors, and I think that Kit Connor also may recognize, this is what brought me into this, and it would be really good for the show, bringing new life, having people watch season one and the other ones because the story here is really good. Now, I've seen people say that season three was very dark for them. They did not enjoy it. Um, it sounded like got good ratings, but not as good as the other seasons. And I know that the views for season three were lower. Now, I just want to say this. Each season, I feel, has a theme. And this is the part of your relationship in season three when you start to face things together and you have to be vulnerable, right? A lot of people always want to put their best, foot forward and project just positivity all the time. And you can't be positive all the time. So when you're in a relationship, you're going to go through dark things. And these are the moments where you really get to know, is this person in it? And do they really care about you? And I think this allows the character of Nick to really show who he is as a person, which many people go, I already knew he was a great guy. But this shows another level, like him going through something difficult. And it shows vulnerability for Nick as well, which I think is great. And I think it allows maybe Charlie to take care of himself as well, because other people criticize Charlie in season one and two of being a little bit of a selfish person, but he had gone through a very traumatic experience, not willing to share a lot of that with his friends. And hopefully, this will be a healing process for him as a character as well in season three. So, hopefully, season four opens it up. It seemed like at the end of season three, Charlie is, a drummer in that band, is maybe getting his newfound independence, with Nick by his side. So I found that really interesting. Now, I do have the Heartstopper stuffed animals that I bought online. I think they were shipped from China. Uh, but, and these I bought for my boyfriend because he really liked the show. He really wanted Nick. And I said, well, you can't have Nick without Charlie. So I have them back here. I think that they're, just to show you the size. Let's see here. Here we go. Look at them, right? Pretty good size. I like that. So let's show Nick first, right? So Nick's wearing his little tie. He has a little heart, of course. He has a little belt. It looks like his little tummy's showing a little bit, but no matter how far I pull it down, he's just showing a little bit. I feel like this is me because when I gained weight, I'm like, you know, this is me going to work, right? Like I'm walking at work, and then one of my coworkers says to me, she goes, "Matthew, you're filling out that shirt so nicely." It was like a nice way to give a insult, and then everyone was like laughing. But it has the little Heartstopper tag here. I'm not sure if I can, maybe I'm not getting a good zoom here. I'm not sure. And then you have the little label here, and it says, "Thanks for collecting me, Heartstopper Nick." And it is designed by Emmy and someone else here, Nara. I think I could read that right. Oh my god. I'm gonna say Nara because I can't see very well right now. This is the problem with getting older. And then we have Charlie. Look at that. This is like his little sweater that he wears all the time, and his little tie tucked in, and the Truman little kind of emblem here. And yes, he has a little belt too. His little heart on this side. I like the little smiley face here. And this is looking at the backside. Oh my gosh, it looks like he's wearing. It looks like he's wearing a jock strap the way they did it. You know? Oh my gosh. But that's just his belt. That's just his belt. Okay, let's not get dirty here. And then, of course, he has the little Heartstopper tag. And then he has in here, basically it says, oh my gosh, there you have the Heartstopper Charlie. So, really cute, you know. Sometimes maybe you could reenact things and you could be like, why are we like this? I don't know. we're just so silly. We're just in love, you know, and kiss. So, I thought that was, you know, really nice to get that for my boyfriend, and really kind of has something for the show to keep us busy. So let me know what you think. You know, I think that my guess, okay, here's my prediction. In April, we are going to get our announcement whether Heartstopper is renewed or not. And hmm, my optimistic side wants to say that it is renewed. Okay. My business hat says unfortunately it leans towards like, hey, it's not looking so good right now. But I'm hoping it is renewed. And I think it's going to be in April. We're gonna get our announcement. I'm just guessing. Okay. So let me know what you think. Do you think it's going to be renewed? Let's see how what we feel in our comment box, and let me know the reason why you think it's probably not going to be renewed, either because the actors, the budget, or unfortunately Netflix just turning it down because they're like, hey, we're ready to move on. We think the story is complete as it is and it's good. So thank you for listening. Have a nice day. And leave a comment, subscribe, and until next time, stay safe, everybody. Bye.